We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll, please.
Trustee McCauley?
Here.
Trustee Nielsen?
Here.
Trustee B?
Here.
Trustee Taylor?
Here.
Trustee Fryborn? Trustee Bezia? President Gilbert?
Here.
Attorney Adams McGrail?
Here.
Treasurer Whitsack? Here. Clerk Burrow, President.
Approval of agenda. I have one item I need to add, and it would be under me, and we'll call it A+. And this is swearing in of one firefighter. So it's all going to take a short period of time. We'll do the swearing in and then we'll go to our normal agenda. So,
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
it's been properly moved and supported that the agenda be approved as amended. Comment on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment on agenda. Being none. Approval of minutes, January 9th.
Motion to approve council meeting minutes from January 9th, 2018.
Supported. Been properly moved and supported that the minutes of January 9th be approved. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes of the January 17th special meeting.
I move that we approve the special council meeting minutes for January 17th as presented. Support.
Been properly moved and supported that the minutes of the January 17th special meeting be approved. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been properly moved and supported that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee McCauley?
Yes.
Trustee Nielsen?
Yes.
Trustee B?
Yes.
Trustee Bezia?
Yes.
Trustee Fryborn? Yes. President Gilbert?
Yes. The swearing in of a new fireman. Chief?
Thank you. I'll try to, we promise to make it short. Anytime we hire a new firefighter, they're on probation for 1 year. During that year, we monitor their progress, their certain efficiency tests they had to accomplish. And as you know, it's harder and harder to get volunteers, not because people won't volunteer, but because the training is so required or is necessary to meet the state standards that people just don't have time to go to the schools. We were very lucky. Mr. McGuffin has completed his training. He's completed all the requirements. He lives here in the village. He was, we works for Richmond Light CMS, and we kind of, through talking, found out that he had a fire background also. He had been on a couple of departments where he lived. So we were very glad to get him. He's done a lot of little projects for us, so his OCD has paid off real good for us. He told me that he was OCD. And he's done a lot of things that cost the village nothing. And we appreciate that more than anything. So anyway, we've started this little tradition. We like to bring him in front of the council. We like to bring him in front of the camera. We like to swear him in, and that's what we're going to do. So like I said, Chris, would you please come up? I know the clerk is going to swear him in, and we're going to have his wife put the badge on, which is a little honor thing we have.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Christian Dunn,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold and support the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
support the Constitution and by the laws of the Indiana Fire Department,
and by the laws of the Indiana Fire Department,
the constitutions of the state of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the United States of America,
and the United States of America,
and that I will fulfill the duties of my office
that I will fulfill the duties of my office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
And now if we could have his wife come up. And I wanted to make honorable mention, his son has also done a lot of things around here with him. They're a good team. And we didn't practice this, so I'm hoping she doesn't draw any blood. But would you do the honors? Would you do the honors of giving him his badge that he has more than earned? That doesn't mean you can screw off, though, okay? Just because you've earned it.
You know, I can't do
I
that.
You gotta have a little left. So we can't call him Cody anymore. Congratulations. Thank you.
Item 8, 2015 audit and financial statement. We have Mike Stickford, I think, Mike will come on up here. From Yo.
Good evening.
Answer any questions you may have about the audit that you received.
My name is Mike Rolcom with Yo CPAs. We finished the March 31, 2015 audit, and I'm just going to go over briefly some of the results. As a part of the audit, we're required to prepare a letter to governance, meaning all of you, and in that we discuss significant matters as it relates to the audit. I'm going to highlight some of the key points. The letter states that management is responsible for the appropriate use of accounting policies and that we deem that they are appropriate. The significant estimates that go into the village financial statements primarily consist of the useful lives of capital assets. And we state in here that we believe disclosures in the financial statements are neutral, consistent, and clear. We go through some of the upcoming accounting standards that are effective beginning in March 31 of 16 and forward. There's many GASB standards that have been coming out lately, and I advise you to read this letter and go through each of those and determine how it will affect the village. We had some significant audit adjustments as a part of our audit to help get things in line for the March 31, 2015 year. And in this letter, I've highlighted a schedule on the impact to equity. I'll just highlight a couple of the large ones. There were adjustments to the general fund of approximately $100,000, major street fund of 53, highway of 5, fire of 3, and the water and sewer, sewer of 82 and water of 332,000. There were no uncorrected misstatements, no disagreements with management, and we have requested a letter from management representing that everything they provided to us is true and, of course, to the best of their knowledge. And in our audit report, which I'll go over next, there are two emphasis of the matter paragraphs. One was regarding deficit net positions, deficit unrestricted net positions in the water and sewer funds, and primarily this highlights that deficit elimination plans are on file with the state, and our opinion is not modified with respect to that. And the second one is a prior period adjustment for each of the water and the sewer fund, primarily due to recording of unbilled accounts receivable and billings related to the mobile home parks. We have a couple other reports that we refer to in this letter that are significant to the audit and should be read in conjunction with the audit, which one is known as the Government Auditing Standards Letter, and then there's reports on supplementary information. The last page are comments for management and suggestions on how to improve internal controls. Next, I'd like to go to the auditor's report, which is essentially the bottom line of the audit. And for the 2014 audit, if you recall, we had to disclaim certain pieces of the audit. This year, I'm happy to report that we are reporting an unmodified opinion, which is essentially what you're hoping for in an audit. It means that everything is materially stated. I'm just going to go through each section of the auditor's report. The first section identifies what areas we have audited, which is the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the other aggregate remaining information. Management is responsible for the fair presentation of financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and that includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls. The auditor's responsibility is to audit the financial statements in accordance with government auditing standards to express an opinion on whether they're fairly stated. And as I've already stated, we believe they are fairly stated. The next two sections are those emphasis of a matter paragraphs that I mentioned in the other letter that details some of the deficit net position in the prior period adjustment. The following section is regarding required supplementary information, such as the MD&A and the budgetary schedules. Only limited procedures are applied on these, and therefore we don't provide an opinion on it. The other supplementary information we do provide an opinion on because it's just creating new schedules based on audited information. So the bottom line for the audit is it was a clean opinion, and I feel like the village is moving forward well. Any questions?
I just have a quick question on the prior period adjustment. So,
Sure.
On the water fund, sewer fund, I get the deficit net positions. I know we'll be probably on some of that. But essentially, can you just kind of explain that prior period adjustment a little bit more?
Sure.
What happens with those?
So there were billing errors related to some mobile home parks. So essentially, amounts were not billed that should have been billed. And technically, because those amounts were for previous years, it had to restate the beginning net position.
Okay. That's what I kind of figured.
Any other questions?
You guys are doing the 2016, or is that,
Yep, we're scheduled April 30th.
you're expected to be done with that, you're saying?
Oh, no, that's when we're beginning, April 30th. We'll be out here all week.
So you have not yet touched that yet?
Correct.
Do you expect that one to go smoother than?
I definitely do.
The time frame for the two audits that have been completed, the time frame has continued to shrink. The first one was long, and the second one was shorter. And with the thing that they found and corrected along with Brian Smith, we would certainly expect that the next one would be much quicker.
We have, you don't draw a ballpark estimate?
I don't, but typically as we get closer to caught up, things tend to get easier and easier. It's pretty challenging looking back.
How long did the 2015 one take from start to finish?
I believe it took about 10 or 11 months.
Any other questions?
What's your name again?
Mike Roca.
No questions? With that being said, a motion would be in order to accept the 2015 audit.
So moved.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that we the village accept the 2015 audit. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Chandler?
Yep.
Trustee Frymer?
Yep.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee B?
Yes.
Trustee Izia?
Yes.
President Hoover?
Yes. Thank you, sir. You have a safe drive home.
Thank you.
Come a long ways.
Thank you very much.
Item B, electrical, mechanical, building, plumbing fees, request to update. There's a request from our inspectors that we update the fee schedule that they currently charge for their inspections. And I think we've all have seen these, and you see what the current fees are and what their recommended increases are. And one of the other things that we're looking to increase is the administrative fee, which is the fee that actually comes to the village. We're trying to better cover our costs within the building department. It needs to, especially when things are good, it needs to be self-supporting. Some of the other increases that the inspectors are requesting, I think most of them are $5 here, $5 there. They're not really that significant. But the administrative fee, I am suggesting we raise it from $30 to $75. We did a comparable to some other communities. And while they're all in that at least $40, quite a few are in that 75 and higher range. Do you have any questions?
And that would apply to, I'm sorry, that would apply to any and all requests that come to the building department?
Yes. Yes. These are typical permit applications, mechanical, building, plumbing, electrical.
Just out of sheer curiosity, how long has it been since we raised the fee? 2008.
2008,
10 years? Okay.
10 years. Any other questions?
Comments or just questions?
Comment?
I think that's pretty high. It's more than double
What?
from 30 to 75.
Yeah, but it's been 10 years. So if we had gone up $2 a year or $3 a year, we would have been still in line. And everyone else is charging at 75. Not everyone, but a lot of communities are charging at 75. And our building department needs to generate income to pay for the service we provide and take the burden off the general fund.
Which one was the administrative fee for 75? Is that across all of the different permits? Okay.
Yes.
So any permit you pull,
Yeah.
$75.
You want to put a fence up?
Uh,
If you want to put a fence up, 75.
No, then, do we charge a limit for fences?
Yeah, the zoning permits are the administrative fee and then just a $10 charge for the actual fee of the fence or fee of the shed that's under 200 square feet. So if you do raise the administrative fee to 75, it will have to go on every permit.
75? Plus like the fence fee or something?
Yeah, plus the actual, that's just the administrative fee, the village gets all of that, and then the permit itself, it has other, you know, like if it's an electrical permit, whatever they're going to be doing, the contractor, he has to pay for all those little things.
So it's 75 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a zoning permit is trying to keep it low, so they only have, that's for just a fence or a very small shed or something like that. So it's just one fee of $10 plus your administrative fee.
So that was going to be, in that case, $85.
It's a little pricey just to put a fence up. Don't you think? Is there any way we could take that, the ding to the residents? Is there any way we could take, I could see the electrical, the plumbing, but if it has to do with the builder or additions or hard structure, just a fence, we're gonna ding them $85? In a shed?
Or shed, I'm gonna say shed, yeah.
One thing that the zoning permit doesn't do that the other ones do, there's an application fee also on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
Yeah.
So that's not on the zoning, that's one thing that the residents wouldn't pay, is that application fee. So,
But the 85 is still,
right now, our administrative fee is 25. And then the $10 for the actual zoning permit. So it's a $35 fee. Right
but
now.
if we increase it to 75, it'll be
Then-
$85.
So you would be moving the $25 up to 75. And then you'd still have your $10.
So it's $85. If I want to put a fence up, it's $85 from the get-go.
I mean, personally, I don't think $85, put up a $2,000 fence. I don't
And
think
it's more than
$85.
just, filing a piece of paper. Lori's got to follow up with everybody to make sure all the inspections are done.
Yes, there's a cost to us.
The inspections actually.
There's a cost.
Personally, I just think it's a hard one, this one, more than that.
Then probably should have been done 5 years ago.
People are getting outdated and all.
Right down the general fund, carries the burden of the building department. And the building department, like I said, would be self-sustaining.
What's the hit that is taken currently from the general fund?
I'm sorry,
What's the hit that is taken currently from the general fund?
offhand, I don't know.
We do have an admin allocation of $10,000 that goes to that, we didn't put in the next budget, but we also have, we also pay the insurance and stuff like that out of the general fund. So the fight and Medicare and all that stuff, but we have been trying to get their salary and medical expenses down into the building fund. We can do it, we did it, we're gonna be able to do it, so. But in past precedents, there was where, most of her salary was in the general fund. This past year, I think it was like 2/3 of her salary down in the building fund, this past budget.
So this
What the year
increase,
before.
with this increase, then we would be drawing from the general fund, the department itself will be self-sufficient?
Yeah, with the increase of buildings happening around here, we should be able to help
No.
subsidize the building department. That was the goal.
The other concern I have on that is, as prices for these fees go up, you might get some otherwise rule followers who might say, you know what? Screw it, I'm gonna take the chance, I'm not gonna pay that fee. It's too high for me, I'm not gonna do it. Then you get zero, and also perhaps you get some shoddy work done that might not meet standards.
Those who don't pull a permit, they're not gonna pull a permit anyways. Whether it's 25, 35.
Say we're intending on shoddy work.
And when they're caught not pulling a permit, I think the penalty is double.
Yeah, working without a permit is, you're supposed to charge double.
Double. So what's your pleasure? Because I don't know if there's any way that we can charge mechanical electrical, plumbing, building without charging zoning?
Well, you want to keep your administrative fee the same for all.
Well,
So,
Well, but the only permits that would come under zoning, like I said, would be fences, sheds,
sheds under 200 square feet, so small sheds.
small sheds.
Lori, typically, how many permits are we pulling a year? I mean, how many do we see in the office a year?
Well, in the spring, you'll see quite a few of the fences,
Sure.
but, you know, then they taper off, so I don't really have a number for you exactly, but, it's not steady all summer long. It's usually just right in the spring when everybody's excited to get going on their yard and stuff, and then we go into the building permits.
Sure.
Then why don't we do this? Because we're not, help me out here. It wouldn't be illegal to exclude the zoning fee increase.
It wouldn't be illegal, I guess my worry would just be whether it's feasible for accounting practices, but it definitely would not be illegal.
Well, I'm looking at the current mechanical and everything like that is 25, whereas the zoning permit's 35, so as it is right now, it's not the same.
So there-
Well, no, the administrative fee is 25 on each. The example you have, I raised it, my building inspectors asked it to go up to 30 on the mechanical and electrical and all that. But the president would like it up to 75. So probably the example in front of you, you might be looking at my new form where I had it at 30. But,
Go ahead, sorry.
but it's $25 administrative fee has been across the board for quite a while. So it would be your 25, for the zoning permit, it would be your $25 administrative fee, and then there was the $10 charge for the fence or shed or whatever it was. So it was a total of 35.
What if we did this? What if we did all of the small fees, because 2008 is when the market crashed, right? This is when real estate crashed. Obviously, we had heavy amendment rollbacks, all that good stuff. We're now in a better spot. Construction's coming back to the village. We do want to be prepared. Instead of doing the 75, we'll split the difference, call it 50. 50 on the application fee. We will still keep the increases of the 5 and 10s that we see in these, so like an air conditioning unit going up by $5. Circuits, first one, $10. Additional would be the 5. So we see that the updated is, and we keep those. I mean, I think that these are good increases. Even if we did the $3, right, over the course of the 10 years, every year, that would have been 30. That would have taken us to 55.
Okay.
I mean, if we do 50, that still doubles the administration fee over a 10-year period, which I think is good. And we do want to be in a good position going into new construction.
Okay.
The market calls for it. The real estate market's definitely going to call for it, and they'll pay. I mean, that's revenue to the village.
Right.
But yeah, the 75 might be a little bit of a jump, but that's just me.
I will support that. Any other questions? Is there a motion in order?
So I'll make a motion to increase the administration fee across the board on the permits from $25 to $50, as well as support the electrical, mechanical, building, and plumbing fees as presented with their increases.
Second.
It's been properly moved and supported that we accept the fee increase across the board for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and building, and that the administrative fee be increased across the board to $50. Any questions on the motion?
This going from 35 to 50, or 25?
One was 35, Lori.
I'm sorry, what?
They were all 25 except for one.
All the administrative fees were 25,
25.
the application fees.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other question on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
Trustee Madison?
Yes.
Trustee Uziak?
Yes.
Trustee Kreidler?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes. Item C, the right-of-way ordinance.
Good evening. President Dilbert and also the building department asked us to review the existing right-of-way ordinance number 139 and make a recommendation for any updates. This ordinance was put back together in 1973, so for the past 45 years there were no updates to this ordinance. So we looked at the language, we recommended changes to the actual ordinance language, and I believe your attorney looked at it and sent back some minor comments, and that's what you looked at in your packet. So there's updates for the fees, the insurance requirements, and all that stuff. We also looked at the permit application itself, and we attached 3 documents to it, permit conditions, supplemental specifications, and indemnity agreement. So it's basically what we've done, and I can go over any details you'd like. At this point, it's just bringing the right-of-way permit or the right-of-way ordinance up to the current standards.
The existing ordinance that was in place had a permit fee of
$10.
period. Now it's based on percentage. It's based on percentage right now. I mean, the new ordinance will be a percentage of the work to be done.
The application fee has changed. We've recommended to 50 non-reimbursable, and there's a review fee of 1.15% of the construction cost, which 15% of that goes to the building department or to the village, and then also an insurance inspection deposit based on the amount of the construction cost. There's a security bond requirement and also the indemnity agreement.
Are there any questions for Smith?
Yeah, could you just for record, could you offer a couple examples of this in practice? Of why we would need this, small and large?
It's as simple as you own your own right-of-way, so if somebody needs a permit to work within your right-of-way. And that goes for the public right-of-way, up to the roads, and also your easements. So any utility, any contractor, there is an exception for homeowners. Sometimes they do a little landscaping. The village has that flexibility to waive some of these fees. So, for instance, somebody's putting a utility, they come in with their plans, we review them, we make sure that they have proper bonds, proper insurance, no conflict with our utilities, and also we inspect their work, and they pay for that.
Utilities such as, for example?
Any of the utility companies like DTE, Comcast, private utilities,
We're talking mostly on
within the right,
empty lots, currently empty lots?
No.
within the right.
Right away.
Right. So again, though, if I'm going to stick my shovel in the ground and actually commence work, what am I hoping to accomplish? As an example, I'm hoping to put a line for Comcast from my front door to the street. I mean, give me an example. Like,
No, those are on the
Picture.
private line.
yeah.
Those are being pulled with the
Well,
building.
right away extends into like from the street to the sidewalk. That's so
Correct.
when you say that, that's what I'm envisioning. So if I'm going to be, if this is going to apply to somebody or probably more often a larger entity than an individual, but
Correct.
that's why I said like a small scale and a larger scale. Like, I'm just trying to.
This is geared towards the
Envision.
large-scale trunk line, I would
Right.
say, or transmission line, not the private.
And that's.
Service lines.
So we're saying, example, like other things, like SEMCOG, when we dug up 27 Mile Road, or actually, they dug it up recently. Okay.
Correct.
I just wanted for illustration purposes, just
The
for if anybody's.
most recent permit that was pulled, there was a company that was installing some fiber optics up the road here. And our existing ordinance only required a $10 fee. And it was all underground and, you know, right here on Main Street.
Now, when we say right away and we're talking about easements, part of my naiveness to it, but now does this also include like easements? So like, I know for my house, I have an easement in the back of my property with utilities like storm drain going through it. That also applies to that?
Public easements only.
Public easements?
So easements owned by the village.
Okay. So in the case of homeowners that have easements in their backyard and Romaro decides to come in?
That's different. Yeah, it's for storm, and that's the association easement, dedicated to the association for maintenance, access, and all that. Village do not own that.
Any other questions? What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve, or motion to, are we approving, are we
Yes.
approving the ordinance as presented for the right-of-way ordinance for the Village of New Haven? Is it still 139, or will it have a different ordinance number?
Maybe 350.
3350?
No, 350.
350.
Second.
It's been properly moved and supported that we approve the right-of-way ordinance number 350.
May I suggest amending the motion slightly to include the indemnity agreement, the new permit form, the supplemental specification for the permit, and also the permit condition.
You accept that?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Quick question. Under attorney's items, it says ordinance right away. Would what you have to say have any impact on the vote?
No, our office has reviewed this ordinance, we're supportive of your adoption.
Any other questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Morrison?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Patoli?
Yes.
Trustee Chandler?
Yep.
Trustee Uziak?
Yes.
Trustee Prymore?
Yep.
President Milburn?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
STE Construction, I don't think anyone is here. DBM Utilities, I don't see anyone. The most recent pay estimate has been the payment of bills.
I put it in there, it's added in there, but we can easily take it out because Sandy had said she wanted to talk about housing payment.
No, I withheld some payments.
Yeah, I gave her the
Yeah, she
number.
gave me the amount.
I gave the amount,
To be paid.
the amount that was going to be withheld.
Oh, to be withheld.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you said you wanted to discuss it.
Not in a public forum, no.
Okay, or then, well, I didn't.
No. The bill that we're paying tonight is in the packet. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. Both numbers are in there, but I can easily take the other one out.
The withheld amount is to be withheld.
Okay, I'll change the other numbers when we get to that then.
Thank you. Item E, the 18-19 budget review, Ways and Means recommendation.
We had a Ways and Means Committee meeting, and Ms. Kazel was nice enough to come and explain the budget for idiots, for dummies. There were no significant changes to the new budget. We feel confident going forward that next year's budget, if we should approve it, is online with nothing outstanding that had to be increased or decreased. But Ms. Kazel had a request about when council approves funding for a project. And that request was,
Basically, my correct request was, if when we have a big project like the STE project, is that when we make a motion, let's tell, all right, what the amount is and what fund it's gonna be, and it's approved and stuff like that, so that we know, because what we were finding when we were doing the audit, we couldn't find these motions, couldn't find what fund it was supposed to be coming out of. So if we can make that decision and have it written in the minutes, it'd be appreciative, it'd be easier for us to find. That's all we're asking to do. It's just a suggestion.
Well, that's where it should be. And I know that the current project that we just completed was formally approved, and it was, we were told what fund it could come out of. So I don't know why the minutes didn't reflect that.
Not that one, no. Was it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I misspoke, sorry.
We didn't spend $1 million without council approval.
Well, there also is, after talking to Sandy, there's a place in BSNA to put a note of happened, approved at the February 2018
Yeah.
council meeting. So that can also be in there to reference it as well.
And we also should probably create an actual line item going forward for that particular project so that we can see when we're drawing down on it, to see where we're at.
so the minutes should reflect the approved amount and which fund it's coming out of. And then you actually look at the minutes and gather the information, so, okay, thank you.
But the auditors were actually, we were having a hard time following and finding that were approved. So,
Okay.
back in it.
The budget review for the budget itself, it can be approved tonight.
I thought we had to have a public hearing.
For the budget or the millage?
We have to have a budget, it's a public hearing next month for here.
Okay, so that's not gonna be the next month. Okay, then we should have scheduled it for tonight.
It's
All
on
right.
the agenda to schedule a public hearing to next week.
Yeah. Alrighty, the attorney item has been dealt with already? Correct. Approval of payment of bills.
Okay, so the February amount is going to be $258,113.17. January stays the same for a grand total of $259,159.67.
What is the new February amount?
Hmm?
The new February amount?
The February amount is $258,113.17 for professional fees. The difference is the little item at the bottom that was pulled out.
So I make a motion to approve the payment of bills in the amount of $259,159.67. Is that the right number?
Yes, that is.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported that we pay the bills in the amount of $259,159.67. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Chandler?
Yep.
Trustee Madison?
Yes.
Trustee Polly?
Yes.
Trustee Beat?
Yes.
Trustee Izia?
Yes.
Trustee Kramer?
Yes.
President Wilbur?
Yes. Clerk's items?
Again, just for items that have been 10 days prior. I'm going to set a public hearing for March 13th at 6:30 to propose 2018-19 budget. So we'll set that now.
Yeah, we need a motion for that.
I'll move that we set a public hearing for March 13th, 2018 at 6:30 PM to go over the 2018-2019 budget.
Support.
And this should also include setting the millage.
And to set the millage.
Still support.
Are we ready to set the millage?
Well, you could, but we have to come back in June and do the fire millage. It's when we usually do it in June, so.
We need to do it, and get it over with by the end of the fiscal year.
Alright.
I don't know why they always put it off to June, why they did them in separate months. Okay, with your support on that?
Yes.
Been properly moved and supported that a public hearing be set for March 13th at 6:30 PM. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The Simcoe franchise ordinance. Why do we keep seeing this? I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, that's your item.
No, please, go ahead.
No, I just,
So, yes, we have to, get this in motion. It's been tabled a lot of times, so.
Well, I thought it was tabled the last time because you guys were going to talk to them.
yeah, we've had no discussion. But we can still pursue that, but we need to at least get the i's dotted and t's crossed. So which? So what needs to be done right now?
Ordinance number, right? And the motion to approve it. On that paper was an ordinance number to be assigned. We never assigned an ordinance.
So we just need to adopt it
Exactly.
and assign the ordinance number to it.
Maybe 351.
Okay. Okay.
Why would it be an ordinance instead of a resolution?
Because that's the paper that I sent all of you guys. It says ordinance number had to be adopted.
It's basically just the requirements as sent to us for the agreement. It's actually very common for it to be done through ordinance rather than through resolution.
Okay.
Wasn't our attorney supposed to look at it, something?
As I recall from last meeting, it's, and if I recall the history of this, because keep in mind, I believe this occurred under the prior trustee attorney, even though the prior village attorney had said that it's basically a form ordinance, we either adopt it or we don't adopt it. And that's our legal analysis as well. I believe at the last meeting, there might have been some discussion about whether or not individuals on the board wanted to reach out to Simcoe or not. But I do not believe, it doesn't change our legal analysis of the ordinance, if that makes sense. I mean, we're fine if you want to adopt it, we're fine if you don't want to adopt it.
What's your pleasure?
Do utilities normally pay communities franchise fees?
I'm sorry.
Do utilities, like Semco, DTE, do they normally pay a franchise fee to the municipality?
Not that we've been able to find.
Well, the ones we get are Comcast and Michigan.
Yeah. And,
It's generated through the Metro Act too.
yeah.
So why don't we just pass the ordinance, get it over with?
That's what I'm saying, we just passed the ordinance and there's, I'll share something.
What would that number be?
351.
I make a motion to pass ordinance 351, concerning the Semco franchise.
Second.
Been properly moved and supported that the franchise, that the ordinance supporting the franchise agreement with Simcoe, ordinance number 351, be adopted. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Frymark?
Yes.
Trustee Ezia?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
No.
Trustee Chandler?
No.
President Gilbert?
Yes. Treasury items.
I knew it was coming and I was gonna bring it up tonight. The spring debt, it's due March 1st, so I'll share with you guys, but I'm gonna have to transfer funds from accounts and it's gonna be a large transfer, so. The spring debt is $409,886.05. It just was handed it right before the meeting. Oh, so that's gonna be a bill coming up that I wanted to.
Sewer debt. sewer debt?
Yep, spring debt. Yeah.
It's our annual payment.
Yeah, it's an annual payment. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different debts on here.
But we typically would have it in hand a couple months out, and we just got it today.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that debt's going to be paid.
When's that going to be paid?
It's due by March 1st. So before the next meeting. Oh, it's due March 5th.
But as of tonight, our assets are still 3 million. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a small error on there's an extra number in there. The total village assets are $3,059,707.99.
Not 32 million.
No,
32 million.
take that 2 out of there.
Okay. Make a motion, we receive and file the treasurer's report.
Second.
It's been moved and supported that we receive and file the treasurer's report. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Unfinished business. Ways and means recommendation on the village manager.
We discussed hiring a village manager and the pay range that would be appropriate for a community our size and our fund balance. Part-time manager, we came up with a pay range of $40 to $45 an hour with some partial benefits. Full-time from $72,000 to $75,000 a year, commensurate with experience, with a range of benefits that would include health care. I think we discussed the health care that the employees currently receive. Vacation time, personal leave time, a typical compensatory package. Assistant Fire Chief Steiner said that grant money, as an incentive and not a requirement for wages, a certain percentage of received grant money could be awarded to a village manager for getting the grant, which I thought was a great idea. But those were the pay ranges that we had discussed. We looked on the Michigan Municipal League website and ran the 182 communities that are on their site. We ran a list of the communities that have our population and kind of our fund balance. So that's how we came to the figures.
I think the first question needs to be answered is, are we still in the market for a village manager?
I would think that that's something that we want to still pursue. I know also part of the Ways and Means meeting, though, we had talked about getting a list of all your day-to-day duties and all that, so we could.
Yes, and I share my opinion with the committee. And I think that the committee should create their own requirements for a manager and not base it on what I do.
Did you recommend a workshop for village manager?
No, not just for village manager.
Okay.
No, I'm going to suggest a workshop, just a general workshop, so that we can get together and just openly talk about a number of things.
Okay. There's some guidance in the general village law act about duties of village managers, and you certainly can reach out to the communities that have part-time and full-time village managers to see the range of jobs that they're expected to perform. And we can get that information before the workshop, and we can go over it, if that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, one of the other things that I also learned while I attended the Village Act training seminar a couple weeks ago, they actually mentioned about the village manager is actually on a 6-year term. So, but as part of the actual law, that they can only, it's like a 6-year term. So it's not something that they, it's not something that we would be roped into and then they'd be, a forever employee. It's on a 6-year basis.
I can't imagine that they'd even hold us to the 6 years though. I mean, I can't imagine that's a law where you have to hire somebody for 6 years.
Well, no, as a maximum.
Oh, maximum as a term.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha, sorry.
Yeah, we'd be lucky if we get one for 3 years.
Right. But it's not somebody it's not like we hire somebody and then they're just, sitting here forever.
Is that the most we can offer in one contract? I think that's the case.
I would say, yeah.
Because I know managers that have been in place a lot longer than 6 years.
Are they a village manager though?
Yeah, city manager, village manager.
But this is part of the general village law act.
Yeah, they might,
So
would probably.
it could be a different set of rules for villages. You know.
Yeah, if they're in longer, they probably would be like a renewed contract or something, every 6 years or something.
Because I know the prior village manager in Romeo was there for 28 years.
But aren't they considered a city, not a village?
Romeo's a
Romeo's
village.
a
Romeo's a
village.
village.
But are they covered by the village act?
Yeah, there's only 3 villages left in Macomb County.
Okay. So what's our pleasure?
Why don't we set up a workshop, get a list of the, I mean, I'm for hiring a village manager. I think we're financially positioned to do that. But I think a further discussion needs to be with all of council, not just 3 members, whether we think full-time, part-time, scope of the duties, and an ultimate benefits package. And from that workshop, if we're in consensus, we could post an RFP with that information. Does that sound okay?
Sounds fair.
Sound okay?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
What's a good day for a workshop? Today's the 13th.
Before February 20th or after March 1st?
I just realized why you.
Actually, it's probably the end of March, because I'm going back and forth and got a lot going on.
Can people do the 19th? It's a Monday.
Which way?
That's what?
Before Park Which way?
Cancel it.
Gotta give something up.
Bring them here.
Yeah, bring them here, yeah.
There you go.
What's the following Monday?
The 26th?
26th? Going once, going twice.
Are we talking March or February?
All right.
Not March 26th. February 26th.
say March.
Oh, February 26th, I'm out of town.
I'm going to be out of commission from the 20th.
Yeah, I'm out of town too.
What are you on a commission? Not for, what time frame?
February 20th to March 1st.
Oh, to March 1st. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be gone into March.
But we wanted to get it done before the next meeting, right?
No, not necessarily.
I can do March 2nd.
March 2nd's a Friday.
Yeah, I won't be here. Big deal.
What about the week of March 5th
Yeah.
through the 9th? What do we got those days?
8, 9?
They're pretty open.
The 7th or 6th?
We could do 6 or 7.
The 6th is planning commission.
6 is planning, so
7?
7 should be open.
Yeah.
I'm good on the 7th. 6 o'clock instead of 7, or?
That's good for me. Earlier the better.
I would be there.
Whether it's 6 or 7, you can't? No. Okay.
7 would be better than 6 for me.
How about
6:30?
something different?
6:30. 6:30,
6:30 on the 7th.
yeah.
Okay.
What other items would we be discussing?
Just whatever
Whatever.
comes to mind. You don't necessarily have to have an agenda. Just, this is an open discussion among trustees. So we'll just, nothing planned. This one item would definitely be on the agenda.
Because we still have to post it, so.
We still got to post it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we make a motion for that?
New business. Mr. B.
So the downtown development, previously, and actually, I lost my So there's an article, I don't know if any of you have seen it, but recently, last month, New Baltimore paves way for downtown development. They have a downtown development authority, and to my understanding, they've been responsible for accomplishing quite a bit in their municipality. They're currently about to receive, well, they're going to be pursuing a grant by establishing a commercial rehabilitation district and whatnot. They've done a lot of they've received a lot of other grants as well throughout the years, and also coincidentally, toward the note of our last agenda item, they do have a village manager, I believe, too, who's, to my understanding, been credited with pursuing a lot of these things as well. But in any case, it's been brought up before, and then unfortunately led to die, probably by myself, unfortunately. But we do have an existing ordinance. Ordinance 292 is the creation of an authority for the Downtown Development Authority. It's on our books. It's been on our books since 2006. Unfortunately, one of the aspects of that ordinance, it references Exhibit A to show, I guess, where this authority or where the area would be. And I have been in this office digging around and everything. I can't find that exhibit.
It was never, it
Should have been part of the ordinance.
The creation that started, and it kept expanding. It kept expanding. And I don't think they ever really adopted a boundary for that DDA.
But either way, New Baltimore's done it. They've been pretty successful with that. Even more successful, I would dare to say, would be Marine City. They really hit the ground running. They also, too, to my understanding, have not a village manager, a manager for their municipality as well. But in any case, I think by doing so, we'd be opening the doors to hopefully get some traction going in our, what we consider downtown area, which is almost anything but currently. So I guess just in coming months, I myself, I'm gonna try to reach out to them, both of those municipalities, and kind of kick around some tires, see what they did and how they did it and what works and what the possibilities are, what the potential is if we were just to establish it or otherwise, use what's on our books already. Because I think it's an underutilized, option that we have. It's on our books and we've done nothing with it. That area is, to me, quite frankly, I think it's a dead zone. I think it has so much potential. So I'm going to be pursuing in the next couple of months. I'll hopefully get you guys some updates unless somebody else already is. Otherwise, I invite anybody and everybody to help me out and see what there is to see, because I think we got a lot of potential for our that downtown area.
I think one of the misconceptions is, and I think I'm correct unless the law has changed, the benefit of a DDA is that you can designate an area and either, so you have a DDA in the village?
Yeah, the advantage is the additional tax revenue that you can collect.
That is only designated for that?
For that district.
For that area?
But you need to be careful because, like, our DDA is basically defunct. The general fund is paying off the DDA bond. Because in 2008, when assessments went down, which is what your basis of your taxes on that district is, and then with the opting out of personal property, we didn't have enough money to pay the bond. So the general fund is paying the bond. And then the downside of the DDA is that revenue comes out of your general fund. You don't increase your taxes, but you can capture more than your tax millage can. But you gotta remember that's coming out of your general fund.
There's nothing to capture.
Right. No, I agree.
So I think the first step is trying to attract a developer to build something downtown.
Right.
And then the creation of a DDA,
That's
so that we can keep that money within that.
But to my understanding, and I don't know if they've utilized it or not, or whatever, and I could be wrong. That's why my goal is to reach out and see exactly how they did it. But to my understanding, although in the article it does reference yet another district, which would be the commercial rehabilitation district within, to my understanding, the downtown development area. I thought by having it on the books, now, so my thought was, okay, it's on the books, let's reaffirm that it's on the books. I thought just by simply it being there, then you could qualify for grants. And that's where I was going with that. I wouldn't have proposed incorporating any additional tax on a area that isn't existent anyway.
That exists.
But to my understanding is by it being on the books, that area could qualify for the grant. Could be wrong, but I'm going to reach out and I'm going to see what there is to see. So if anybody else wants to help me out.
Because I mean, I see improvements in a lot of communities, and primarily Romeo, because I worked there all these years, and I can see what their DDA was doing as far as the streetscapes and stuff like that. You know, that was a lot of stuff that was headed by the DDA, because that revenue was kept within that district, and so they were generating enough money to do these improvements, you know. So there's some benefit, but I think the most important thing I'll say again is to try to attract a developer to help us create it downtown.
But I'll look into it, because like I said, if just simply by having it on the books that we qualify for it, well then we need to communicate that to people that we're hoping to attract to get established in that area. But I'll update you guys.
Okay. Parks and Rec requests. Mrs. Rossi.
Good evening, everybody. Here, Parks and Rec has not been able to meet for the last couple months, Christmas, and then we couldn't get enough to show up at the last meeting. So what we do have on planning and coming up is our Easter egg hunt. So I am here in hopes of getting approval for that. We didn't have the opportunity to send it to you through Parks and Rec. Same $1,500, it's in the Parks and Rec budget and such. Last year it was pretty successful, probably one of the most successful yet, and we hope to do it again. So, any questions about it or?
Just a comment, I attended it, it was awesome last year, it was awesome.
I attended it for the first time, and I thought it was great.
It was impressive.
So that would, that would require an action from the board. Yeah, I don't know, do you want me to proceed with that before or do you want me to go on to the next?
No, stop there first, please.
Motion, all right?
Yes.
I make a motion to allot $1,500 from the general fund to the Parks and Rec.
No, it comes out of the Parks and Rec.
Oh, I'm sorry, from the Parks and Rec, okay.
Yes. But they can't spend money.
$1,500 expenditures of the Parks and Rec fund for the Easter egg hunt.
Support. Been properly moved and supported that we allocate, that we approve $1,500 expenditure by the Parks and Rec Committee for the Easter egg hunt. Any questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Beal?
Yes.
Trustee Myson?
Absolutely.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
Trustee Hazia?
Yes.
Trustee Primer?
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the next, also it's been discussed over with Parks and Rec for the last couple months, but again, not getting together. We wanted to get it more to you guys just for a time of consideration. Next year is the Village of New Haven's 150th anniversary. Currently, Macomb County is doing a lot of special events for their 200th. It would require additional funding beyond what we have in our Parks and Rec fund. Also, we'd like to form a subcommittee. In the discussions that we've had, we've made just a motion at our level to proceed going forward. Considerations to a subcommittee. Not really any one of us there want to do it alone or have the time. We would like to get a group of community members to get a group together. We had discussed things such as like a 2-day weekend, a festival type event in and around the 4th of July like we do already with the fireworks capping it off. We're not at this time asking for a specific amount because quite honestly we haven't, but really laid down exactly what we want, but we would like to perhaps have your blessing in exploring options, presenting something in the not so distant future, and forming a subcommittee to look into the expenses of getting a midway and stuff such as that. Because that'll be costly, plus we have to have they're booked. They book up quite a bit in advance. So that's more so for consideration for that.
Who's booking?
Midways and such. They book years in advance. So if that's something that we would like to consider. Like I said, I don't want it to be my idea or presented as mine. I would like more so the blessing and then to explore it with the subcommittee of residents, hopefully someone from the board, someone from Parks and Rec. Question.
Question?
We are looking, in the numbers that we bounce around, we're looking at about 20 to 25,000 for a 2-day event. So, but on the other side of that, our hope is also to get donations, sponsors within the community. In the past, working with Rocket Fest and such, a lot of that gets funded by local donations. So I think, 25,000 total, but that might not be what we actually require.
I think anything that celebrates the village of New Haven is good. Good PR, good for the village, good for Stone County. So
Yeah.
I think it's fully supported.
When will the subcommittee start to meet?
Well, that's, I'm here, I'd like to get going as soon as possible. I think, a year is, I think we need a year anytime to do it right. I don't want to, I feel like we're really going to put ourselves out there. We really shouldn't go so far. We should, if we're going to invest in it, we should make it look good to ourselves, but also to our one community.
Is there a volunteer? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You mentioned around Rocket Fest, you mentioned around 4th of July. Rocket
4th of
Fest.
July, only because we only have designated time frames with fireworks.
Sure. Is this something you're thinking of combining with Rocket Fest or keep it
No.
totally separate?
No, completely separate.
Completely separate. There's a, well, I'm probably speaking out of turn, but the Rocket Fest, I mean, we don't even know if it's even, if it's going to exist this year. That's a struggle. And it's my understanding that the school board has, I'll keep that to myself.
I'll share it. I don't know the New Haven Education Foundation. We solely have done Rocket Fest the last couple of years. There's 3 of us. It's a lot of work. Being honest, it's not a lot of this because we don't have the funds to do it. We really it's a fundraiser, and a lot of people in the community don't know that. So, we charge for, the bounce houses and stuff like that. A lot of people are put off by that. But people don't realize, we go out and collect $5,000, but somewhere in there we have to make, $4,000 or $5,000 as well. So we do the best that we can, but there's only a few of us. So that's why, as far as it's 150th, I would really like to solicit the community to get involved. And even if each person takes on one event, this person runs, maybe a ball game, this one runs midway, spread the joy a little bit.
Is there someone on the council so that if Mrs. Rossi gets this thing going, she'll have that designee? Is there someone on the council that would like to raise that hand to be involved in this planning committee?
Your wife's going to go.
My wife's going to come in. My wife's going to come in.
I'll tell you anyway, so.
Right, yeah. We're all going to die somehow, so. I mean, I don't want to take away from anybody else if they're interested, but.
Well, really, the more the merrier, I think. So if we could have like a
To an
firm
extent.
commitment from one. Yeah, this is
One,
true.
two.
Actually, sometimes not so much, but.
But you're right, between Parks and Rec and planning and the council and a half dozen or more citizens, residents, get a good cross-section and come up with some good ideas, because the ideas have to be attractive to not only the residents, but for the outsiders, because we want people to come in to participate in this. And it may be something that we can schedule, not only the fireworks, but even the Rose Cellar weekend, or, there may be something we can all draw a few things together and add a midway and, some other major attractions to see if we can get outsiders to come in.
My goal is for the next year is to have some sort of, and we've discussed a little bit, some sort of logo that represents 150. So events like Rose Cellar and other events can attach that logo to, recognize that, this is a part of our community.
Yeah, it could be a whole year celebration.
Right, yeah, not necessarily our aspect, but as if we could attach it to different things.
I would be interested, but with negotiations, I can't add anything until about May.
That's
But,
fine.
yeah.
Anything?
And it's fine, because,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Well, I'm supposed to raise my hand, so I thought we were going to speak.
No, very good. So if there's no other questions?
So with that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the council has informally given that idea
Thumbs up.
some,
But we'll come back as we come, to some conclusions and some costs and such as we go along. There might be some upfront costs that maybe in the back end we can get covered by donations and such, so. And I would encourage, like, that for anyone, the Macomb County is doing their 200th right now. They do have a page one specifically for that, and they've got a lot of good ideas and stuff like that, if you're looking for. Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Call from the floor. I don't think we had any legal updates that we need to go into closed session for.
I don't think there's anything that is new that you would need to, obviously, board wants to. I'll have to check.
Call from the table.
I'd like to chip in. Normally we have a line item for planning, but I think I forgot to ask the clerk to keep it in there. So we had a planning committee meeting last week. It works out nicely that Mrs. Rosick is here. So I wanted to go over, we had our election of officers. Mrs. Aker, former chairwoman Akers, had resigned from the planning committee. So we have a new chairwoman for the planning committee, Mrs. Rosick. We also have a vice chairman, Mr. Pennell. We also have Tracy Bonkowski as the secretary. And then we also assigned a liaison to the ZBA. That would be Kyle Kappa. Will be liaison to ZBA. Furthermore, we talked about the zoning, and it kind of, I wanted to also bring this up since it kind of ties in with Trustee Vandergrove's discussion about the downtown. There's a lot of discussion and planning about the zoning act, and one of the things that was brought to the planning committee was having the Macomb County Planners Organization, or the group actually, they would go section by section through the zoning, and they would actually review it, or they could review it, come back with recommendations to planning, and planning would review it, have some time, and then we would bring it then to council for alternate passage, review and passage. So there was some discussion about that. I don't think that we're at this point requesting any monies for that, but there's going to be some fundage there if we decide to go that route. So just as a heads up. That was the main thing. I don't think there was anything else that we really covered in the planning committee meeting. We just had some discussion about just communication and keeping everybody on board and open. The planning committee also will be adopting the Village of New Haven Michigan.gov email addresses. The committee's actually pretty excited to use the new email addresses, so all good stuff.
Has everyone received their new email addresses? Except for me.
That's kind of weird. Did you see, did you tell them about the consent agenda?
I think it's always in the
Consent agenda?
Call from the table.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm here to haunt you guys again. The CDBG, bricks and mortar, we need a motion. The minor home repair program is one of the ones we're dealing with right now, but it's very limited. It only goes for severely disabled, mobile home owner occupants, or senior citizens, so it's kind of not going off like as I expected. It's not a hit. But for the next CDBG allocation of funds, I was brought to my attention by Mr. Bocher there that there's a housing rehabilitation program that it's not so restricted. It's more for like storm doors, roofing, anything that you could possibly think of, like for homes. And it's for all of Macomb County though. So New Haven can tap into it, Armada, Shelby Township, anybody in Macomb County can tap into this kind of program. So I need a motion if you want it to be for the minor home repair program again. We can try to launch that off again for 2017-18, or you want it to go to the housing rehabilitation program, or to more broader. So I need a motion for that. And that's for that $11,591. That is, I gave you guys handouts of both programs.
Is there a timeline, or is there a deadline?
It's for this week. It's what I gave you guys last council meeting. But again, like I know Trustee B, you had asked about sidewalks, things of that nature. New Haven back in the day did qualify for a whole lot more, but New Haven now is at a threshold where it's more like moderate income, so we don't qualify for a lot of these things anymore. So these are the only two things that are considered brick and mortars now, is the minor home repair and the housing rehabilitation program. Those are the only two things that we can qualify for.
And which one's more broad-based?
The housing rehabilitation program. It's more broader and less restricted. With the minor home repair program, it's just for senior citizens, disabled, and mobile home parks. And I told Mr. Bocher that we have newer mobile home parks that are not really needing that type of repair.
Right.
So.
You gotta submit this?
Yeah.
You're on a time constraint?
Yeah, I should have done it last council.
Do we just give you a recommendation, or do we need a motion in which to put?
Need a motion for the 11th, and it's not this flyer that guys gave you, it's for the project one for $11,591.
I make a motion to use the funds in the amount of $11,591, you said?
Yes.
For the housing rehabilitation, to be put into the housing rehabilitation program.
Second.
It's been properly moved and supported that the CDBG funding in the amount of $11,591 be applied for the housing rehabilitation program. Any questions on the motion?
Yeah, question on that. So you say it's Macomb County wide, but that means, so we're basically, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's good or bad, I'm just saying, so we're taking a motion to put our money into a giant pot that anybody and everybody from the county can take out.
Yes. But you have to understand though, it's less restrictions. When you're having the minor home repair program, it's not launching off very well here. Because again,
What have we done to promote?
I'm sorry?
What have we done to promote the minor home repair?
It should be on the website. It's on the website, right?
It is on the website, and it's been on other social media.
And there's flyers out here too.
And even though Lenny Township, and they've had no takers.
Oh, I went door to door. I went to different businesses and whatnot. I saw flyers last year. That's why I said we shouldn't do it in the first place. But I thought we had.
But again, there's nothing, like you discussed the sidewalks. Again, we're at that threshold, we're more like moderate income without low income like we used to be like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Because we have so much building here and whatnot. So.
Is this something that if we don't participate in, our residents can't take advantage of?
Yes, correct. But again, this is a whole lot better because it's more broad, it's less restricted.
When we hold on to the 11,000, and as our residents apply for it,
Yeah.
and they meet the thresholds, that money comes out of the fund.
That big
We're not putting the 11,000 in a big massive pot somewhere.
No.
Thank you.
And then again, the flyers in the brochure that I gave you explains everything. So that there are requirements, but again, not so restricted. Okay.
Any other questions on the motion? Roll, please.
Trustee Chandler?
Yes.
Trustee Crowley?
Yes.
Trustee Maiason?
Yes.
Trustee B?
Yes.
Trustee Haziak?
Yes.
Trustee Pridemore?
Yes.
President Milburn?
Yes. Call from the table.
I'm gonna, just a That's it. So, to my understanding, our code enforcement will be going to court finally in a week or two on some matters. 21st?
21st.
So I just want to say that
No,
that's.
22nd. I'm sorry.
22nd. I just want to say that that's a pretty cool milestone, as that hasn't been done for some time, so. Just want to give them a pat on the back for getting things moving in the right
Well, that's
direction.
waiting until we see what the court
Right.
do. I go to court once a week, but I still come here empty-handed. Call from the table, I have a couple things. One is, we need to constantly remind our residents about removing their vehicles during a snow emergency. And Brian reached out to me, Trustee Meissen reached out to me over the weekend, and so we got the sheriff department out, and I got the sheriff department back out today, and my own sub, because there's at least 3 vehicles that haven't seen daylight since it started snowing 2 months ago. They're just buried in snow. It makes it easier for everyone, and it's safer for everyone to get the roads properly plowed. Once they're plowed, you can park back on the street. Our DPW, the big trucks, cannot get down these narrow streets when there's cars on the street. You can't do it. And without endangering the vehicles that are on the street. So with that being said, continue to encourage your friends and your neighbors, when the snow emergency has been declared, move your vehicles. The second thing is, and I forgot that this should have been included on the agenda, our Yo-Yo contract, this is the final year of an audit. We need to either go out for a new RFP, or maybe, if we want to continue with Yo-Yo, just solicit a bid from them. So how do you want to pursue this?
We don't have to decide that today.
No, but we need to just give some thought to it.
I would put it as an action item on the next agenda.
Okay. Yeah, because this is the last year of our 3-year contract. So we need to give some thought to it, and it will be on the next, for the March agenda.
Or we can talk about it at the workshop too.
Or we can talk about it at the workshop. Call from the table.
Just to follow up with your comment regarding the DPW and the plowing roads. Personally, I just want to thank Marcus and all the staff, DPW, outstanding work. All the snow that we got, the major snowstorms, I know it isn't easy, and I know you guys are always having to deal with all the people that are blocking the roads and making life a lot harder for you guys. So, personally, just, thank you. You did a great job.
Did they get any sleep over the weekend?
No.
I didn't.
That's why I reached out to your dad, not you. It's fine.
Every time I looked out, they were
I'll tell you what, I'm about to be done with it. Okay? Call from the table. Motion in order.
Motion to adjourn.